Hello and welcome to another episode of Michael Explains. In today's episode, we're going to touch on a comparison of the cost of living and lifestyle in the US and in Japan. The first category that we will start with is the cost of housing. During the pandemic, we've seen in the US that housing prices have just gone absolutely crazy, with prices almost doubling in many cities, including in Texas and Florida and as well as traditional expensive cities, including in Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York. Prices have also increased in Japan in major cities, including in Tokyo and Osaka. However, outside of these key central areas, Japan continues to be exceptionally affordable, with average cost of renting a typical home less than 1,000 US dollars a month. In comparison, the average US rents and mortgages, now with rates approximating 7%, mean that for many Americans, they are looking at moving to a place where they have a much better cost of living. And so Japan for housing certainly wins. Of course, in America, there are still many affordable cities and towns, although they're becoming rarer. However, in Japan, you really are spoiled for choice. As the country is going through a period of economic growth, but at the same time, population decline, there is an incredible supply and diversity of housing options from inner city condominiums to multi-family homes to standalone large family homes to countryside properties in rural and remote areas of Japan. In contrast, in America, outside of the city center areas, it's often very difficult to find affordable family housing, which are close to good schools, hospitals, and other amenities. And so, on the topic of housing, it looks like Japan is certainly coming out ahead. The second topic that I wanted to discuss is around food. Food is excellent and diverse in both the US and in Japan, but Japan is known globally for having high quality attention to detail right across their cuisine and exceptionally affordable now, especially with the weak yen. It's possible, for example, to have a family meal at a conveyor belt sushi restaurant in Japan for as little as 15 US dollars. Whereas in America, for a typical family, it would be at least 50 to 70 US dollars for a family meal at a conveyor belt sushi restaurant. Their prices of groceries are fairly comparable. Some items are cheaper in Japan than in the US, including eggs and some other vegetables. However, fruits are quite expensive in Japan, especially if they're domestic variety. But the taste is absolutely incredible and is something that is quite precious in Japan. In the US, of course, there's amazing diversity. When I lived in Michigan, there was an abundance of really fresh, delicious, organic farmers markets that were very close to where I was staying, and I was able to access really high quality, delicious local produce. And so that is available in the US. However, it's increasingly becoming more expensive. And so, again, for food, it's probably a tie between the US and Japan, although on affordability and potentially even on taste, maybe Japan comes out ahead. But for the diversity of food, with the multicultural background of the average American, similar to Australia where I live, I think that the US has also got a lot of strengths. The third category that I wanted to talk about is around social. And this is a topic where Japan, as a very successful collective culture, has a number of seasonal festivals called Matsuri throughout the year. And those Matsuris really do bring the community together. There are very small festivals of just sort of local towns and villages, all the way up to, massive tens of thousands of people participating in Tokyo and Osaka and other major cities. So there is a big range of social events throughout the year, and it's really hard to get bored in Japan. The social side in the US is also really strong, but primarily focused on sports and obviously as well on other sorts of organized activities, whether that be someone's religion or whether it be social activities, hobbies, etc. And so again, really depending on your personal preference, where you want to be. If you're more of a person who wants to explore different culture and see a different part of the world, then Japan has a lot of strengths. If you are someone who really has a particular passion for sport, then the US is also really a great option too. The fourth category that I wanted to speak about is around the work environment, and this is a fairly well covered topic, but really it is true that even today in 2024 that the work environment in Japan is quite unique, and there is certainly still a degree of formality that is less prevalent in other countries around the world, including in Australia, in the US, in Canada, and the UK. Particularly when talking to more senior members of your company, and as well as the expectation to work some overtime is also again another feature of working in a Japanese workplace. It is changing, and through the pandemic there was a shift in many Japanese companies to promote, with the Japanese government, some of their employees to consider remote work and to move outside of the major cities, including in Tokyo, to more rural and regional areas, with the ability through technology to, essentially become a digital worker. However, there's still a lot of room to improve, especially around language. So if you are not fluent in Japanese, it can be quite difficult to break into maybe your given field without a certain degree of proficiency. In the US, conversely, it is very much a diverse environment for the workplace. Some organisations are going to be much stricter than others, but generally speaking, there is somewhat more of a relaxed approach when it comes to your work, and you can very much separate more easily your work and your personal side of your life. In the US as well, similar to Japan, there is a expectation that you will be an employee who will take a reasonable amount of care when you're taking leave from your company. And so in both Japan and the US, there is a culture of probably working quite hard, and so that's again another point of similarity. And the final topic that I want to discuss as part of this comparison of living in Japan and the US is around access to nature. And this is again very much going to depend where you're living, but if you are someone who really wants to be closer to nature, whether that be you love the ocean or you love mountains or you love any type of landscape in between that, Japan offers an incredible array of diversity because it's an island country made up of a number of major islands, stretching all the way from the north in Hokkaido down to Okinawa in the south. There's just an amazing array of diverse natural experiences that you can participate in, whether that be some of the more remote mountains in the Tohoku region in the north of Japan, all the way down to the ski fields in Nagano and Niigata in the center of Honshu, all the way down to the incredible onsens in Beppu in Kyushu, and then obviously into Kagoshima and to Okinawa with the beautiful beaches and the incredible reefs, which are perfect for snorkeling and fishing. And so really there is something for everyone in Japan. And again, because of the weak yen, it's incredibly affordable to experience and be part of that. The US, again, an incredible nature destination, and one where nature can be at your doorstep. When I was again living in Michigan, within 30 minutes, I could be at an incredible lake. I could be, in the mountains with just an hour's drive away. It was incredible. But my family, who at that time were living in New York, again a little bit more difficult getting outside of the larger cities. It is possible, but because of the lack of high speed trains like in Japan, it's not as accessible to nature. In comparison, when you're in, for example, Tokyo, within less than a 1 hour bullet train, you can be in a completely remote part of Japan, surrounded by incredible mountains and natural hot springs, and it is an incredible experience. And so, probably if you look at those 5 categories across, the comparison of the US and Japan, definitely Japan has got a lot of strengths. The work culture in Japan is one clear negative point, but it's changing. And obviously, in the US, you have probably an easier path to work, and obviously the salaries now with a weak yen are somewhat lower than they would be in the US for a comparable role and job. So I hope you found this video insightful, interesting. If you have, please do give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. I really am encouraged by the support, and thank you very much to those who have liked previous videos and encouraged me to continue making new content. If you have a suggestion for a future video, or you have any perspective on maybe you have moved to the US or you've moved to Japan and your experiences, please do leave them in the comments section below. Hope everybody stays awesome, and again, thank you very much, legends.